I opened my phone at 7:43 a.m. on March 14th, the screen lighting up my small kitchen in Portland, Oregon. A notification from my DIL blinked, and I tapped it without thinking, only to freeze the moment the video loaded. My stomach sank. There they were, her family crowded in the living room, laughing at something I had no part in, calling me a pathetic failure. My hands tightened around my $12 coffee mug, knuckles white, and I didn't answer the call or message that popped up right after. I just sat there, swallowing hard, feeling the heat rise in my chest. I replayed the video frame by frame, noticing every glance, every smirk. The way my son's eyes flicked to her before he laughed made my stomach twist. My brother-in-law on the corner couch didn't even hide his amusement. I could almost hear them rehearsing their lines, assuming I'd never see it. My first thought was a hot rush of anger, then fear. What if I lost control and sent a message I couldn't take back? What if this escalated and I lost access to my grandson? I swallowed and tried to steady my breathing. I called my cousin Emily for a second opinion, keeping my voice calm, even though it trembled. "Look," I said, "watch this part. Notice how he smirks when she calls me out. I can't let them think I didn't see." She peered at the screen, then said simply, "Yeah, that's brutal. But you know what? Don't touch it until we figure out the next move." I realized I'd been blind, letting small comments slide over the years, assuming they were jokes. How many times had I ignored subtle digs, thinking, "It's family, it's fine, don't overreact"? I felt stupid, a little ashamed and scared. What if my silence had cost me respect long before this video landed in my inbox? My throat tightened. My coffee cooled. I rubbed the handle, feeling the weight of all those ignored signs. And yet I didn't reply. I didn't call. I just watched again, calculating, noting who said what, who glanced at whom. If they were family, why did this start with derision instead of concern? If they needed me, why did they open with judgment? The answers weren't coming in words, they were coming in patterns, and I had to learn them fast. I set the mug down and leaned back, letting the screen glow across my face, already planning the next move, aware that every second of hesitation was part of the play. And this was only the beginning. I stare at the ceiling, the plaster cracks running like small rivers above my head. Heart hammering. I drop the phone onto the Formica table. The screen flips face down with a hollow tap. I feel small. My throat tightens. I swallow hard, trying to force the panic down. My chair creaks under me as I shift forward, elbows on my knees, fingers twitching. The mug of coffee I poured 20 minutes ago is still warm, untouched, but I can feel the chill through the ceramic. I replay the video on the small laptop I drag to the counter. Frame by frame, I notice the tiny gestures I missed the first time, the smirk my son shoots her, the way she leans back, arms crossed, as if daring me to respond. Each little motion stacks on the last, piling the insult, higher, silent, but brutal. I make a copy, save the original untouched. If I do anything else, I need the proof untouched, intact. It sits in a folder labeled March 14 PDX.move, date stamped 6:12 a.m., ready in case the situation escalates. My mind runs through their justification. It's family. We were just joking. But if they were family, why start with ridicule? Why let her open with that tone? And if my son could pay his own credit card bills, why would he need to weaponize my financial support? I note these questions quietly, like small anchors, while my pulse slows a little. I call my cousin Lara from the kitchen, speakerphone on. She hears my hands shaking as I lift the mug. "Are you going to let them get away with this?" she asks. I bite my lip. "Not yet," I say. "I need the evidence lined up first." Her sigh is short, real. "Good. Don't send anything until you're sure." I close my eyes for a second, hating myself for all the times I brushed off little digs in the past. all the times I laughed along when my words or efforts were ignored. I fear what their contempt could do to my access to my grandson. My chest aches, and I realize I let this slide too long. I feel embarrassed, a little ashamed small, in a way I've hated admitting. I open my eyes. I lean back, hands still gripping the laptop, and watch the video again, noticing nuances I missed, who glances at whom, the pauses between laughs, the way each word lands like a brick. I don't move. I just watch. And I know the next step will need precision and timing. I sit at my desk in the corner of my apartment in Portland, Oregon, the ledger open in front of me, pen in hand, the clock reading 10:17 a.m., March 14th. My laptop glows blue against the dim morning light, and I jot down every name, every date, every subtle laugh in the video. I notice how my son tilts his head before chuckling, how my DIL glances at the ceiling as if expecting approval. I feel anger rise sharp, but I keep still leaning forward, elbows on the wood fingers tapping the edge, reminding myself not to move too fast. I replay each snippet, slow noting patterns, connections, micro expressions. I grab my phone and check the email timestamp again to 6:12 a.m., just minutes before the first comment in the video. That's when it hits me. She sent it by accident. My heart tightens. I bite my lip, feeling stupid, for all the times I assumed her silence or subtle digs were harmless. How many times had I let little remarks slide, thinking, it's family, I should just ignore it? I shiver at the thought that my complacency might have cost me credibility with my grandson, and I feel a wave of shame wash over me. I call my cousin Lara, sitting across the table with a green mug of coffee. Look, I say, pointing at the paused frame. See how he looks at her before laughing. I can't let them write this off. She leans closer, scanning the screen, eyes narrowing. You're right. Don't send anything yet. Watch, note, and wait, she says, her voice flat but steady. I press record on the screen again, making a clean copy, and store the original untouched in a dated folder. My hands shake slightly when I slide it into the external hard drive. I wonder if they were really family. Why start with ridicule instead of asking for help or clarifying a concern? And if my son could handle his own credit card payments, why involve me as a target for their amusement? I exhale, pressing my forehead against my palm, the weight of all those ignored signs pressing down. My chair creaks, coffee gone cold, but I keep my eyes on the glowing screen, replaying the video once more. Every glance, every pause, every smirk is a detail I'll need. Every movement tells me who they really are. I don't respond. I don't react. I watch, calculating, because the next step depends on precision, not fury, and I need to know exactly what I'm facing. I shuffle through a stack of old bank statements and letters on the kitchen counter, the sun coming in through the blinds, hitting the dust motes that float like tiny ghosts in the light. It's March 14th, 11:05 a.m., and my eyes sting from squinting at faded ink and tiny numbers. My jaw tightens as I trace a signature with my finger. My own approving loans and payments years ago. Loans I made to cover their emergencies and payments they never asked properly for. I feel the weight of all those years, overlooked every small favor that stacked into expectation, every quiet sacrifice I made that was treated like a footnote. I hear the soft click of my cousin Lara's heels in the hallway as she steps in, coffee cup in hand. Still digging through the archives, she asks, leaning on the doorway. I nod, not looking up. Yeah. Trying to see the pattern. It's all here if you know how to read it. She lifts her mug to me and shrugs. Keep your receipts. They'll matter more than any speech. I pause on one statement, a payment from January 2018, $1,250, to cover a credit card my son claimed he couldn't manage. If he could pay it, why did he need me? I ask myself. if they're family? Why open with demands instead of asking, why make me the target? The words hit me like small knives I've been ignoring for years. I feel embarrassed that I didn't see it sooner. Ashamed for letting my trust and repeated help be treated like a doormat. Scared that my silence might have cost me access to my grandson more than once. I pull the statements together, organize them by date, and map out the timeline quietly. Each payment, each favor, each moment they laughed at my efforts lines up with a pattern I couldn't deny anymore. Generosity can be weaponized, and family loyalty can be twisted into leverage if you let it. I remind myself silently to keep every copy, every proof intact. I glance at the parked BMW outside my son's, a reminder that appearances can be misleading, and as I lay out the evidence noting every moment of casual manipulation, I realize the next move isn't about confrontation, it's about preparation. I close the folder, take a deep breath, and start planning my first step carefully. I pick up the phone at 3:22 p.m. on March 14th, my hands still warm from the mug I set down a minute ago. I dial my lawyer's direct line voice steady, even though my chest feels tight. We need to prepare, I say. There's a click on the other end, then the faint sound of typing as his assistant scribbles notes. I can hear him shuffling papers. I lean back in my chair, the leather creaking under me, and let the tension pulse through my shoulders. Relief mixes with fear. Relief because I finally have someone on my side who sees this for what it is, fear, because once the legal wheels start turning, nothing can be undone. I glance at the BMW parked across the street, my son's shiny black car reminding me how appearances hide the real story. I bite my lip, thinking if he could pay his own bills, why the need to drag me into every transaction? If we were really family, why does every request start with a demand, not a conversation? The lawyer comes on the line. We'll need all copies of the video, every document. Every timestamp, he says, voice calm, no emotion, just fact. And someone who can testify to what actually happened. We'll build it step by step. I nod, even though he can't see me. I hang up and take a deep breath. The silence in my kitchen is heavy but grounding. I open the folder with the saved video, double-checking every frame. I see the smirks, the glances the way they tried to hide it, and I feel a flash of shame for all the times I ignored small signs thinking, it's family, it's fine, don't make a fuss. My stomach knots, thinking I might have lost chances with my grandson by not paying attention sooner. I call my cousin Lara again, her voice low but firm. Keep the evidence safe. Don't show anyone until the plan is ready. Timing matters more than anger. I nod, murmuring thanks knowing she's right. I start arranging the sequence in my head, evidence-ready witnesses lined up the moment to act set. I write a short checklist sticky notes on the edge of the counter, every step in plain sight. Patience now will make the action clean, undeniable. My jaw relaxes a little. Legal support is silent, steady, and far stronger than any argument I could shout at them. I lean back, hands on the ledger, staring at the blue glow of the laptop. The next move is quiet, but deliberate. Time and witness will do the talking, and I wait for the exact moment they give me the opening. I called and scheduled a family meeting for March 15th at 5:30 p.m., telling them it was just to sort out the weekend plans, nothing more. My pulse was sharp, eyes narrowing, as I moved through the living room, placing a notebook on the table with the video. Ready phone propped up beside it. The IKEA coffee table creaked under the weight of the papers and my laptop. I took a deep breath and tried to settle my shoulders. I felt calm on the surface, but my chest thumped like it wanted attention. I hear the black Honda Civic pull into the driveway and pause. My son and DIL step out, Jordan with his usual grin, pretending nothing is off. I watch them from the window as they carry in a stack of bags and their casual confidence. The car engine clicks off. They don't see me adjust the camera angle to catch every reaction, and I feel a small, sharp satisfaction. I tell myself, stay still, watch, and let their own arrogance do the work. My cousin Lara sits beside me holding a cheap $4 mug of tea, whispering, "Remember, you don't need to speak first." My son says, "So what's all this?" And I don't answer. I just pour myself another cup of coffee, hands shaking slightly. If they really needed my help, why start with a demand? If this is family, why does it begin with judgment? I catch the flicker in their expressions, and I realize the arrogance is already cracking. I lean back, letting the tension hang, feeling the power shift silently. Sometimes the quietest ones hold the most leverage. I sip my coffee cold, now watching as they settle in, unaware of the evidence stacked against them. The next move will be mind-timed and precise, and they have no idea what's coming. I hit play on the laptop at 6:18 p.m. on March 15th. In my Portland kitchen, the late sunlight slicing through the blinds, my hands steady on the edge of the counter. The video filled the screen, and I let it roll, every frame showing my DIL and family mocking me, calling me a pathetic failure. My coffee sits untouched, steam curling lazily forgotten, as I watch them shift in the living room, glances flicking between each other, unaware that I'm watching them through the screen, while they try to act casual. My body tenses, heart thumping, but my voice stays still when I finally speak. Notice this, see how he looks at her before laughing. They try to justify themselves instantly. My son says, "It was just a joke," and my DIL adds, "We didn't mean anything by it." I tilt my head, letting the words hang. If you could pay your own credit card, why drag me into this? If this is family, why start with ridicule instead of asking? The room goes quiet for a moment, their smiles faltering as they realize the weight of their own actions. The casual cruelty laid bare. I feel a pang of guilt flicker through me, remembering all the times I overlooked smaller digs, thinking it's family. It's fine, and my stomach knots. I swallow hard, tasting a little regret and fear of what their anger could do to my grandson. I glance at the doorway and see my cousin Lara leaning against the frame, arms folded. They can't argue with that. She mutters, quiet but real. I nod without looking, letting her presence anchor me. The laptop hums, playing back their faces in slow motion, and I notice subtleties I missed before the smirk that faltered the pause, before they tried to laugh it off, the way they looked at each other, as if searching for a lifeline. I lean back against the counter, jaw tight, feeling the rush of control mix with a hollow ache. Every micro-expression, every careless laugh now matters. Evidence speaks louder than words. They don't know it yet, but their slip has already turned the tide. My hands hover over the trackpad, ready to pause, to rewind, to highlight what I need, knowing timing will decide the rest. And as they finally look at me, noticing I've been silent all along, I realize the next move is about precision, and they have no idea what's coming. My DIL freezes her hand, trembling, as she drops the envelope she was holding on the Formica counter. My son stammers, mouth opening and closing, eyes darting between me and the laptop screen where the video plays on loop. I see betrayal etched on their faces, but I don't feel joy. I feel disappointment, like a weight pressing against my chest. The glass of water I set down earlier wobbles and clinks as it tilts, the sound loud in the tense kitchen. I take a slow breath, trying to keep my hands from shaking. I lean against the counter, eyes scanning their reactions, noticing the cracks I never saw before, the way my son avoids my gaze, the forced calm in her posture, the tiny smirk that falters when she realizes the evidence is undeniable. I ask myself quietly, if they were family, why start with mockery instead of conversation? If they could pay their own bills, why involve me at all? The questions hang in the air unanswered, but I feel clarity sharpening with every frame of the video. I glance at my cousin Lara sitting on the stool nearby. "They can't talk their way out of this," she says. Voice low but steady. I nod, letting her presence anchor me, knowing she understands the weight of what just happened. My stomach knots, thinking of all the times I brushed off small digs in the past, hoping they were harmless. I feel ashamed that I let it slide so long and fearful of how much their disregard might have affected my access to my grandson. I reach for my phone and email. A copy of the video to my lawyer with a short note, evidence preserved, time-stamped original, untouched. I watch their faces as the message sends seeing panic flicker across DIL's features. Confusion tighten my son's jaw. Standing firm has its consequences. They look at me differently now, and intimacy has shifted in the blink of an eye. I sit back, gripping the counter, feeling both power and hollow ache in the same beat. I've preserved what's mine, but I know some things can't be won with evidence alone. I file the originals safely away and start preparing for the next step. The formal move, knowing timing and precision will matter more than anger. I sit at my kitchen table in Portland, Oregon on March 16th, 3:45 a.m., the early sun catching the edge of my laptop and legal folder. The trust adjustments are finalized, every signature in place, every account and property now untouchable. I run my fingers over the rustling papers, $200 spent on notarization and filing alone, and take a slow sip from my cold coffee, letting the bitter taste ground me. Satisfaction sits alongside a hollow ache. I did what I had to do, but I feel the weight of what this cost me. The easy access I once had to my grandson, the warmth in their eyes that's gone the years of subtle dismissals I let slide. I send the formal notices via email and certified mail. My lawyer, Mark, leans over my shoulder as I click send. "They'll read this and realize it's final," he says quietly. I nod, the muscles in my jaw tight. I glance at the black Honda Civic parked across the street, the car my son drove this morning, oblivious to the storm about to hit his inbox. My eyes narrow. If they were really family, why does a single misstep become a weapon against me? If they could manage their own finances, why turn every minor request into a demand? I pause, thinking of all the times I ignored small digs and laughed along, pretending nothing was wrong. I feel a twinge of shame and fear had my inaction before allowed this disrespect to grow unchecked. My stomach twists. I picture my grandson playing in the backyard, unaware of the tension, and my chest tightens. I hate that my silence might have affected him. Mark straightens. "You did everything right. You stayed calm, collected, and prepared." His voice is low, matter of fact. I nod, still tracing the edge of a signed page. Protection isn't loud, it's deliberate, and it requires patience, timing, and authority. I fold the letters, stack them neatly beside the laptop, and lean back. Silence falls across the apartment. They don't call, they don't text, and for the first time, I hear the weight of control resting in my hands. I sip the rest of my coffee, letting the bitter warmth seep in, knowing the next step is letting them process the consequences of their own choices. I sit in my favorite chair at 8:12 a.m. on March 17th. My hands wrapped around a warm $3 coffee mug from Green Street Cafe. The steam brushing my fingers. Outside, the morning light hits the porch just right, and birds call across the yard. My gaze drifts to the black Honda Civic parked across the street, the same one my son drives, silent, ordinary, unaware that the balance of control has shifted. I feel calm, but there's a trace of sadness. A hollow spot where I wish things could have been different. I take a slow sip and let the warmth settle. My laptop is closed, the legal folders stacked neatly beside it. Every signature is in place. The trust is airtight. I glance at the printed copies of the video, the emails, the notarized statements. I can see the pattern of their arrogance and mockery, the way they treated familiarity like leverage. I ask myself quietly, if they really needed me, why start with demands instead of asking if they were family? Why weaponize trust? My cousin Laura sits across from me on the kitchen stool, leaning forward with her elbows on her knees. "You did this right," she says. Voice low, real. "They'll figure it out without you saying a word." I nod, feeling the truth in her words, knowing she's right. My stomach twists, remembering all the little signs I ignored, the times I laughed along when my efforts were belittled, and I feel a pang of guilt. I wish I had noticed sooner, worried for my grandson, wondering if my silence ever cost us. I set the mug down, tracing the edge with my finger, letting the quiet fill the room. I see now that boundaries, preparation, and timing were the real power. I don't have to shout. I don't have to prove anything verbally. I've created a structure where my rights, my space, and my family's legacy are protected, and they can only watch it unfold. I take a deep breath, the kind that fills my lungs and loosens the tightness in my shoulders. The sun hits the porch again, birds flitting across the yard, and I know this story is far from over for them. I lean back, eyes resting on the quiet morning, ready for whatever comes next.